So welcome, E&P advisors and guests. Good to see you back. I think the last time we all got together was back in December. And over the past year, we, of course, have had 30 plus meetings of this group. And today we've invited some of the public. So I'm going to have to give them a little bit of an orientation about what this is about. And again, thanks for joining us on a late on a Friday afternoon. This has become our preferred time over the past year because we're all so busy. This was virtually the only time we had where we had some free time before the weekend. This was called the Executive Next Practice Howard Hughes Happy Hour for a reason, because once we got into COVID, we jumped into these meetings on March 23rd, I think it was, and came to the conclusion that since we were all going to be somewhat like Howard Hughes, trapped in our homes, that we might as well enjoy it and keep connecting with each other. So we've been doing these on a regular basis, and now we'll continue to do them on a monthly basis and continue to also enjoy the company of the public as well for some of these meetings. So let me jump into this. Again, welcome everybody. Here's our agenda today. Again, my name is Scott Hamilton. I'm CEO of the Executive Next Practice Institute and our subsidiary called Nextwork Strategy. And again, if you'll mute yourself for now, and then we'll allow you to unmute when we get into collaboration. We've got a quick agenda this afternoon, but an important agenda. We'll talk about E&P for 2021, a few announcements, and then we've got our special guest speaker, Dave Ferrara, who will talk about entrepreneurship and innovation and his perspectives, and then we'll open it up to Q&A for everybody. So that's our fast-paced agenda this afternoon. Those of you who this may be your first or you've only seen us a couple of times in the past, this is what we looked like in the old days of in-person meetings at UCI and other locations around the world. As you recall, we've been at this now for roughly 11 years. We've had over 417 types of forums, workshops, and gatherings where we're pulling together a global audience of C-suite executives, investors, key connectors to examine what's coming next. That's actually a picture that you see there of Richard Ramsey, the vice president of Disney, where he came and talked to us about their strategy. Again, we've had north of 85,000 people flow through our doors over the years, and our membership is primarily C-suite executives of a decision-making level. So the community we built over the past 11 years is extremely diverse in terms of industry sectors, in terms of backgrounds. They all share the commonality of being leaders, for the most part, of enterprise-level companies. So this is not a traditional association. It's not a networking group, as you'll quickly uncover. It is more designed to support the connection between enterprise-level companies and startups, and also, again, stay ahead of what's happening in the external markets. So the people that attend our meetings over the past 11 years have been top advisors. They've been key CEOs, CMOs, CFOs from enterprise-level companies, usually north of 30 million in revenue. They've been innovation ecosystem principals, and they've been thought leaders and influencers. That's been who's attended. In fact, this is a picture of Lee Steinberg, who joined us last February. Of course, Jerry Maguire, the movie Jerry Maguire was based on Lee Steinberg's work in the sports arena. So Lee came in and talked to us along with half a dozen other sports celebrities about communications from a sports perspective. Quite an interesting session. We hope to get back to that soon. Here are our partners. And across the spectrum, we partner with a number of organizations like Forbes, the Chamber, of course, Octane, UCI Beal, UCI Paul Mirage. We're based, of course, at UCI Beal Applied Innovation. We office here, and we use their facilities. And of course, all these other partners that have been with us over the years, and we're glad to have this kind of relationship with all these partners. Here's the value proposition of attending not only the virtual events, but as we get back to the hybrid events and other workshops. Here's your value proposition. By the way, I'm going to have you, someone can please mute yourself, if you will, as you come in. The value proposition of E&P always has been, it is not a networking group. There are lots of networking groups out there that do a fine job. This is more about network building, and I'll get into that in just a minute, but it's more about building a authentic network versus networking itself. And we bring in the best and the brightest from both startups and large enterprise companies to put them together to examine where the market's going and where new opportunities are coming from. This is also an opportunity via these meetings is to meet the key members of the Southern California Global Innovation ecosystem, and that's comprised of several thousand C-suite leaders and investors. So you're going to see not only Southern California on these meetings, you're going to see the globe depending on the content that we present. And then finally, our objective here of all these meetings is to develop next practices for you and your organization that'll help you stay ahead of changes in this extremely volatile market, particularly now with COVID, but beyond the current situation we're in. So that's the value proposition. And I want to just talk about what's coming up, and then I want to get to our guest speakers. First of all, here are the key links for this organization. The primary link to our URL, executive-nextpracticeinstitute.com. We have a YouTube channel. You can also join as a member. By the way, this month, if you join as an annual member, that covers you through 2022. That covers you through December of 2022, not this year, but the following year as well. So it's quite a great value proposition there to join as a member. Here's our YouTube channel. There are several hundred videos on there that you'll see over the past several years where we've had thought leaders. There are recordings of our events. You'll see all the virtual events we've had since March of this past year. And again, a lot of content there. And again, take some time over the weekend to kind of drill into some of those. You'll find those quite interesting, all these topics. Here's what's coming in 2021. I'm just going to give you a highlight because you can always go to the website. And the website is updated weekly. So the big bucket items coming up this year, the tentpole events for us are going to be these meetings once a month, every third Friday afternoon, same link you saw today, same Zoom link you used today, this meeting every third Friday. And there'll either be a guest speaker or there'll be a specific topic that we talk about, plus some some E&P advisor sharing. We have a customer centricity summit coming up, our 6th annual in March, reInvent HR in several locations where we feature the top CHROs in the world. Our women's leadership program is under development and stakeholder leadership. So all these things are in development and you'll see these over the course of the year. Also, as most of you know from having been with us for so long, during the transformation from these virtual environments into hybrid and eventually back to in-person, you'll see us follow this trail of moving in eventually back to in-person events, but still leveraging the virtual resources. So you'll see this kind of migration, this transformation over the next coming year. Just a couple of events to mention. That's our tentpole events. The one to put in your calendar now is the 5th annual E&P Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Forum. That's coming up on midday on the 10th of February. And we've assembled the best and the brightest here in the diversity field. These are both internal executives, CEOs, as well as experts in the community that are part of our team, like Dr. Dina Brown, like Dr. Anita Polite-Wilson, of course, our other experts in the diversity field, like Stacy Gordon, our long-term friend, Sherelle Jackson, who's now with BPM Accounting. We have TK Heron out of Medtronic. And all these folks will get together and talk about not diversity as a program, not as a program, but as a way of doing business. How do you build it into your business so it's not a separate thing? It's just a way you become. It's a way, it's part of your purpose. It's a way you unfold your business with your employees, with your customers, with your partners. So it's going to be quite a different slant on DEI, if you will. And this is a 3-part series that we'll present over the next year. So that's February the 10th that you want to join this. Again, this is all on the website in terms of what's going to happen on the 10th. But again, if you'll take a look at the site and sign up for that quickly on that, that's going to quickly fill up. Our next E&P advisor meeting, again, is going to be on February the 19th. And we will continue our discussion about how to build a more advanced referral network. You recall when we met in December, we had Henry DeVries a lot of you know Henry talked about how to start to build your referral networks. We're going to do an advanced session on that again on February the 19th. It'll be new material. The other thing we look for, and many of you are potential sponsors or no sponsors, we have a tremendous value proposition to the sponsors of these forums and workshops, both in terms of direct revenue, attributed revenue, and building their brand equity by being part of these events. So we appreciate referrals to us in terms of people that want to support and be part of this community. Okay, let's talk about 2021 and then get to Dave. This is a little different situation now we've been encountering, obviously with COVID. It's been a very difficult time. There's been an estimate that people have lost up to 17% of their networks in the past year or more, simply because, as we know, if you lose contact with people for more than 90 days, you tend to lose them altogether. That's a fact of life. So how do you keep those networks with your referral partners, with those that you want to know, your clients, your past clients? How do you keep those alive? And those are some of the challenges also in terms of developing new clients and new contacts. How do you do that? No one's really cracked that code in the virtual environment. We may be doing well with our existing networks, but we're having trouble breaking through to gaining that new client or that new customer simply because we don't have that interpersonal connection with them via in the virtual environment. That's why these referrals are so incredibly important as well. So again, that's the call for action here in 2021. So I've got a couple of things for you that may help you here. It's particularly if you've got time this weekend and on into the next weeks ahead, you may want to take a look at this. Now, Dave Ferrara has got a couple of books he's going to recommend as well, which I definitely want you to take a look at. These are two I found useful over the holidays to take a look at. I think most of you know my bias. I don't like reading things that are more than a year old because the environment is changing so fast. By the time someone's written a book, it's out of date in most cases. And there's a couple of books I think you'd find, they just came out like in the past 30 days. One is No Filter. It's the actual story of Instagram. I know many of you have heard me talk about Instagram in the past, about how they were successful by pivoting 90 days into their startup to eventually be sold to Facebook for $1 billion. And that was an 18-month period from startup to sell to Facebook. This is a really interesting book by Sarah Fryer about that Instagram story. And it's a very readable book too, by the way. The second book by Marissa King, who's an organization effectiveness professor at Yale University, just came out. And it's about how you create your network, not networking, your network, how you can judge it. And she's actually got a survey you can take in terms of revealing how effective your network is. So these two books may serve you well as you're, again, getting into the new year, trying to establish where you're going and reestablishing connection with people overall. Those are the two we recommend. All right, next. I want to, speaking of reconnecting with clients, prospects, and building a more robust connection, I'm going to have Jason Duncan, who's CEO of Miller Farm Media, just quickly share with us some other techniques here about building our network. So Jason, I'll drive for you. I think you've got a co-host, so you can probably drive your slides here. I'll turn it to you.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. So, we always come into the new year thinking about how we're going to do things different. And the first thing I hear from businesses is, we need to re-engage our database or clean our database. And it's important to look at your CRM. So if you don't currently have a CRM, or if you're just not happy with your CRM, the next slide, I recommend two different CRMs for you. There's Hubspot, and Scott, I don't have access to Drive, so if you can.
I'll drive you through here. All right?
Yep.
Okay.
There we go. So HubSpot has a free version that grows with your business. It has a lot of connectivity to your website, so you can actually track when somebody re-engages with your brand. If HubSpot's not right for you, Pipedrive is really great. Of course, you've got the traditional Salesforce and whatnot if your organization's big enough to handle that. But these two are also of a Salesforce level to a point in terms of their ability to grow. They're not as customizable, but it's a good opportunity for your brand to really start using it this year. And HubSpot is great because it offers some tracking right from your current email box. Then we want to talk about channel partners. So you want to find those companies that are doing the same type of thing or talking to the same types of people. So Brian Anderson's on the call. He and I would be good channel partners because we're talking to a lot of the same people. So find those people, build relationships, and do something for them. Have, for example, I have an audit that we do for some of our channel partners to help them help their customers do better with digital selling or remote selling. Next, you need to create a consistent presence. So you need to make sure that you're sending regular emails, whether it's you're part of your email campaign or your sales team's reaching out, at least once a month. Depending on your industry, there are different rules. If you're B2C, you can, and depending on what you sell, sometimes you can follow up every day. I get emails from Amazon every day. If you're B2B, like most of us on this call, you've got to figure out, can I follow up every week? Is it every 2 weeks? Is it every month? And it's really just about testing. There's no hard and fast rules. Make sure that you're using social media. Now is the time to figure out social media. We're going to be stuck in this COVID mess, at least in California, probably for most of the rest of the year, if not at least until the third quarter. So now's the time to figure that out and use video, because video is a way to humanize your brand. And let's look at 3 ways to actually get this video to the level you want it. You need 3 types of video: searchable, thought leadership, and sales. So the idea of searchable is you need those videos that when people go and ask questions on the internet, your video pops up. And it doesn't matter if you sell parts to Boeing or if you sell services to medium-sized businesses. You need to have a few searchable videos out there. EMP recently had a video that went searchable, and within a few hours it had hundreds of views. You need those thought leadership videos like EMP is always demonstrating to you. And then finally, you can't forget about having a sales video. And these can be directed remotely. So you don't have to have somebody come into your office or to your home. You can have a video production company actually direct these remotely, give you the strategies and help you through this, because I see a lot of people try to do video and get lost. And Zoom calls are great, but you need to go beyond that, because we've got to continue to build those human relationships in the meantime, and you need your face to help drive that. And then finally, Scott and I have a webinar coming up on February 4th, new strategies for lead generation, engagement, and commitments in the virtual marketplace. So looking forward to talking to you more about re-engaging your current database, and also, what are different things you need to do to really win that remote selling.
Yep. Thanks, Jason. And this, you'll be sent the link, the registration link for this complimentary session here this next week. It'll actually be on the website next week, but you'll also be sent a link for this session on February the 4th. Jason, thanks so much. So there's a couple of ideas then in terms of reconnecting with your network, some books you can read, some strategies you can take in terms of re-energizing and re-priming your network as we move through this year. The final thing I'll mention, most of you know Henry DeVries, who's our partner, who's the CEO of Indie Publishing. And Henry, once a month, every month for the rest of the year, has a seminar on how to write the right book. And so several of you have taken advantage of this. I know many of the people we've referred over the years have taken advantage of this and used these sessions to write the book that's already within you. All right, so those are every month. Again, I'll send you these slides so that you can sign up with Henry. Speaking of authors, we've got a noted Forbes author now with us today. Dave Ferrara has written a book, Innovation and Translation. It has not come out yet because you're getting a sneak peek. This is another advantage of being part of the E&P network, is you get to see things before they hit the public sphere. So I asked Dave to come in and talk with us about some of his thoughts that he's sharing in this book. I came to know Dave Ferrara through the American Heart Association. Dave was our outstanding leader of the executive leadership team this past year for a very, very successful Heart Association drive, and just got a fantastic background. Dave, welcome to E&P. I'm going to stop sharing and have you start sharing your slides from here.
All right, thanks, Scott. Let me share my screen and go into. All right, great.
Perfect.
So, as Scott said, he doesn't recommend books that are more than a year old. Well, This one's not even birthed yet. It comes out in April. So thanks for having me. I'm actually happy to discuss my thoughts on how big ideas come to market in the medical device field. So I've been in the medical device field now since 1991, and I've been through several companies, some big public companies, but several startups, say in my last 20 years. And this book is kind of a how-to, or, lessons learned through my journey of how to, learn about problems, create solutions, and bring them to market in the healthcare industry. So, hold on for a second. So here's my bio on the left side. So I grew up in Massachusetts. I went to school at the University of Lowell, and I did a form of co-op education where I studied engineering, but also interned during the summers. My first job was at a startup in Phoenix, Arizona called Infra, where we made catheters for dialysis. I then left and went to a big company that just went public, Boston Scientific. And I think that's where I cut my teeth. I had a great manager. I learned lots of things. I was still an extrusion engineer because my background was in plastics engineering. So I extruded materials to make catheters. And in 97, I started my first company called Micros, and I co-founded that with a physician and a business partner. And we developed an embolization coil to treat brain aneurysms. So rather than having surgery where they would cut through your skin and through your skull and put a clip across the aneurysm, we developed a technology that was catheter-based and went through a small hole in your groin, and it tracked across your heart into your brain, and we embolized the aneurysm that way. So that was my first foray into startups, and I was a co-founder there. I then left the Bay Area, moved down to Orange County, where I worked for Microvention, did something similar there, developed embolization coils, worked with some great engineers, a great leadership team. They were acquired by Terumo. I then left in 2007 to co-found my second company, Mindframe, where we developed a device that actually removed blood clots from the brain to treat ischemic stroke. And that is the way that they treat ischemic stroke right now. It's that and the combination of aspiration. That was acquired by Covidien in 2012. I had left before that to form Blockade Medical, another company in the neurovascular space, developing devices to treat stroke and brain aneurysms with a great team. That was acquired in 2016 by a French company, Bolt. I stayed with them for 3 years and then just left kind of in the middle of the pandemic to form Quantum Ventures. And that's a venture studio where we're actually co-founding 6 different companies at the same time. So rather than forming one company and bringing it to market, we're forming 6. And it's the same team I've worked with since 2007. So now we have a team that has worked together, that's complementary, and we all stay in our lane. We all do what we do well, and we bring products to market. So through all those years, I've been able to participate in almost 100 patents, all in the field of diagnostic and interventional radiology. So my book is more in depth of really how to get an idea from a physician that has a problem and bring it all the way through to an exit. But the slides I'm going to show you now are, really the key things of any entrepreneur and what they need to learn. Okay. So I'll go on to my next. So, what is an entrepreneur? It's really someone that can put together the resources, the team in a valuable way and solve a problem, but has to be fully responsible because you're going to be taking money from investors. You're going to be building a team, covering people's salaries. You have a plan. You want to get to market. And the idea is to bring that idea, that solution to the marketplace with investors' money. So you are a fiduciary. You're kind of a godfather, but you're also a leader. And it's on entrepreneurship. It's challenging. It's hard. It's very tricky. Most of them fail. But if you have the right team, the team that accepts responsibility, that learns from failure, then you're going to figure out the solution and actually pivot. So if you're afraid of failing, entrepreneurship isn't for you. But if you embrace failure and learn from that, then you can be a good entrepreneur. We have strong beliefs about the market, and we know how to organize resources very, extremely effectively to get to market. The market's always changing. I mean, left my job in the middle of last year, in the middle of the pandemic, there's always a changing situation. I thought we were going to be able to raise money very simply through family offices and VCs. Not the case. A lot of people, as you know, are kind of hoarding cash, or they're sticking with what they know. So we had to pivot in how we raise money. And we've actually ended up raising money in Asia, in Singapore and China. And I think a common misbelief is that most entrepreneurs love taking risks. We understand that it is risky, but we mitigate the risk all along the way by hiring the right people, by looking at the market, by ensuring our technology is actually patentable. So if you can mitigate the risk, at least in those 3 key areas, then you should be successful. And that's kind of what I've been learning in, say, the past 30 years or so. Also key things is an entrepreneur has to make meaning. It isn't just making something that is cheaper or, it's faster. You have to have goals. And I think that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs kind of shy away from. What's a goal to an entrepreneur? It could be a number of things. It could be to make the world a better place. To make a better medical device, which we have. My grandfather died of a stroke when I was in college, and back in '89, there weren't any solutions for ischemic stroke. There were no drugs. There wasn't intravenous TPA. There weren't catheters. There was nothing. So, and I talked to the neurologist when I was in college. He said, we're just going to make them comfortable. So that pushed me into healthcare. How could I take my engineering degree and make the world a better place? Okay. Increase the quality of life. It could even be as simple as having an app that allows you to order your food during a pandemic. You still have to eat, right? So, these are simple things. My version of increasing the quality of life is making a better medical device. Right a terrible wrong. You may be seeing, a product that is too expensive. There's a corner on the market. There's a monopoly. They're raising high prices. Well, you can make a competitive product that everyone can then enjoy. So, it's out there for everyone. So, you have to have goals. And I think, you look at each one of these and you figure out how can you fit your solution into one of these, these categories. Or prevent the end of something good. There could be products out there that are off the market for whatever reason, and you want to bring them back. So, these are just a handful of things that a good entrepreneur has to look at, but you have to solve a real problem and you have to monetize that. Because if you have investors and shareholders, you have to get to market. It has to be at a good price, a good margin, so you can get acquired or go public, but you've got to solve a real problem. And these are simple categories. And I think any idea you have or any problem you see, you could fit that into one of these, these unique categories. You've got to hire infected people. I think this is something that, tends to get ignored. You tend to look at resumes and, this person's qualified. Of course they can do the job, but do they really love the product or the service that you're creating? I think work experience and the background is always a given, but the third intangible is really hiring people that are infected with the love of what you're actually trying to do. Hire better than yourself. In college, I can tell you, I wasn't a 3.0 student. I was an athlete. I was out there with my ball play. I was the only engineer on the baseball team. But, I knew I had to study. But when I get into the marketplace, I knew there were people that had certain qualities that could either communicate better, saw things differently than I did, were better at say drafting on SolidWorks, better at communicating with physicians. You've got to hire better than yourself. A players, and this is not they love to hire A+ players. Okay, we love to work with the people who are better than us. And you have an ego, but you got to put that aside if you want to have a good, successful team and have a great company and product. And I've seen it. B players hire C players, and it goes on and on down the line. These, they're looking out for their job. They're just protecting. You got to hire A players or A plus players. Hire better than yourself. And kind of another way to look at this is what I call the shopping center test. I get lots of resumes that I see. My business partners want to hire people, and I'll meet them. And say we haven't made a job offer yet. Same at Fashion Island, and I'm down there with my kids or my friends, and I may see the person that we're actually interviewing. I can do three things. I can walk over to that person and say, "Hey, Steve, great to see you. I can't wait to work with you." Or I could watch Steve walk around the mall and, "Hey, what's Steve doing?" Or I can leave. Okay. If you don't want to walk over to that person when you see them at the mall, then you don't hire that person. And as hard as that is a litmus test for hiring anybody. So when you're at a startup, you've got to hire these types of people, the best people. And even if you're not at a startup, okay? And then marketing. A lot of us entrepreneurs, especially an engineer, we know nothing about marketing, okay? But you have to learn about it. This is a really simple scale, which I think anybody can actually learn. The left side is what's your ability to provide a unique product or service. The bottom is the value to the customer. And I think you guys know where we're actually going to end up here, okay? If you have no ability to provide a product or service, but the value is really high, that's kind of neat to be at. But, you want to be competing on price all day long. That just isn't going to work, okay? Because someone else can come in and actually, provide a better product or service and actually beat you on price, okay? Next, you could have, no value to the customer, but you have a high ability in product or service. Okay, well, that's not the best place to be either. It just doesn't end well there. Okay, or you could be, say, a .com company. I'm 53. I was living in the Bay Area, 97 to 99. My office was down the street from Yahoo and Netscape. We all know those companies, right? By the time I left the Bay Area 99 to come down here, the .com crashed. And I'm sure you guys remember back then, you could buy dog food online, but it cost like $300 because the shipping was so expensive. Now it isn't like that. We have Amazon. It's a whole different model. But if you can't provide value, you can't provide a unique service, then you have nothing. You're just going to crash and burn. Okay. The last piece, you want to be high and to the right. Okay. High product or service, high value to the customer. I'm not sure if you guys like the movies. Well, I got young kids. I have a 7 and 10-year-old. We love the movies. I can't get in the car and drive to Sinopolis or drive to Edwards and be like, "Hey, let's get some tickets," and it's sold out. My kids are going to be upset with me. Fandango. I can look online, 10 different movie theaters. I can buy the seats. I can pick the seats. I get to the movie theater. Kids are happy and buying popcorn. Okay, this is a simple example, but if you're unable to provide that unique product or service, high value to the customer, then get out or find another solution or find another problem to solve. Okay, so my work goes into a little bit more than these things, but I think with the limited amount of time I had here, these are key things that any entrepreneur has to identify first. Of course, building the team, growing markets, ability to monetize, protect your technology. But these are the other intangibles that I think you really have to embrace. Okay. Will you be an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur? I mean, not everyone's going to go start a company. There may be people here that work at, say, Edwards or Qualcomm, but whatever job you have, treat every company you have like it's a startup. Always try to create value. Always try to improve that product or service that you're developing. Managers who are at these bigger companies or even startups, you should be inspiring this entrepreneurial thinking. Keep people excited. Keep thinking to them, hey, we always have a problem to solve. And these other products that are being funded that are in the operating plan, well, they came from somewhere. So there was a problem to solve that got presented to the management team, and that won the budget. So you've got to keep thinking entrepreneurial wherever you are. And you've got to keep fostering the creativity to stay ahead of the pack. The head of the pack is the competition. or it could be a product line that you already sell. You want to be the one that kills the cash cow. If you're the leader in your field and you're number one, well, some other company's going to come in and take your share at some point in time. It's just inevitable. You want to be the one that kills the cash cow. And those ideas to kill the existing cash cow have to come internally. So you have to foster the creativity inside the business. So I have a number of favorite books. Actually, The Art of the Start is old. It's about 15 years old. It was written by a friend of mine, Guy Kawasaki. Guy's, I don't know how many books Guy's written, but this one was my Bible, I'd say back in 2003. I was still at Microvention. I read his book, saw him present, and it was like the clouds parted, and I had to leave and start a company eventually again. A good friend of mine, Oren Klaff, wrote Pitch Anything. I read that in 2014. I had him come in to actually pitch to our company. I used him as my investment banker when our company Blockade got acquired in 2016. And it was the art of the pitch. And it isn't pitching just to raise money. It could be pitching to present your project to your manager. It could be pitching to present, a 7-year-old to pitch to their dad, to get a hoverboard. And then the way things work, I actually read that in college back in the late 90s. It's just a fun book for anybody to read. It really dumbs down solutions and engineering and so forth. So maybe one of these days my book will be here. But here's then a way to get in touch with me. Here's my email and my LinkedIn. And I'll send this presentation to you, or I can come and speak at one of your businesses and kind of give a more in-depth talk, depending on what you want me to talk about. But I'd be happy to speak more with you and give this presentation to you and your team. Thanks.
Yeah, Dave, that's great. I've got a couple of questions for you, and I'm going to have you stop sharing your slides. Actually, leave that up for just a moment. There we go. That's good. Just a couple of questions here, Dave. Let me see if I can get you as a spotlight here. You're a serial entrepreneur. How are you maintaining and how are you creating new opportunities this year? We talked about the challenges in this virtual environment of maintaining networks, of maintaining that deal flow, of maintaining the connection with the marketplace. How are you doing it? You seem to be phenomenal at doing it, by the way, but how are you doing it in this period where we're all kind of locked down, so to speak?
Yeah, I think before the pandemic, I was a pretty avid attendee of conferences in my field around the world, and I would be able to network with physicians. I would listen to their presentations on the podium. I would read the journals also. So I have to do more of that. I'm not attending conferences, but I have a pretty good network, and I reach out to physicians on a regular basis. How's it going? How are the cases? On LinkedIn, a lot of physicians now are posting their case successes on LinkedIn, and I reach out to them. So I'm watching their cases. I'm reading the journals. I'm attending virtual seminars. So I'm staying very close with my customers in the field that I'm in, and I have to reach out. So these aren't ideas that I come up with because I'm not having the problem. The real innovator is the person who's having the problem, and in my field, that's the doctor. So I'm staying in touch with them regularly. Hey, how are your cases? How's that new product that you tried working? Or why did you switch from that product to this product? Hey, I saw a journal article that you wrote. I saw you had issues here. Can you explain that? So you really got to, use your network, communicate, ask lots of questions, but really look for problems.
Yeah. Are you seeing any, you're in med device, but you touch on a lot of different sectors. Where do you see the big winners this year? What's emerging that we should be watching out for?
Virtual reality isn't just what kids use as a game while they're gaming. There's kind of an intersection of the artificial intelligence and virtual reality. It's called augmented reality. Augmented reality is coming to healthcare. I'm seeing it in the radiology field in actually imaging. So they're using augmented reality to look at imaging to see if a patient is having a stroke. They're using augmented reality with imaging to guide catheters through the vascular system inside the body. So that's a technology that's not just going to be in, say, gaming or in these other areas. It's coming to healthcare. There's physicians right now that are actually treating stroke from another room. If the patient is in this room, they're in a room down the hall. And they're doing that for a few reasons. One is to avoid radiation, because when you're in this interventional suite, the entire room is being exposed to radiation. And it's just faster. So I think augmented reality, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, it's in healthcare. And in 5, 10, 15 years, it's going to keep evolving. Maybe in 25 years, that's how we're treated. So that's a really key technology that I'm very excited about.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And to the degree that the current environment is actually accelerating that, obviously, in terms of telepresence and all of these kind of new technologies. Let me open it up to the group. Any questions for Dave here, or reactions, comments in general? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question, or use the chat for Dave.
All right.
We got, hold on, I'm going to just get them through here. Okay, I guess the other question is, we've had several of these kind of questions along the lines of, how do you see the rest of the year unfolding? I talked earlier about this being a transformative year, Dave, from going from virtual to hybrid to more of a, not the normal, but something different than what we had in the past. How are you seeing this unfold in terms of timing, based on everything you're seeing and hearing now?
I'm a little surprised at how slow the vaccine is rolling out, but I know in the healthcare community, most physicians are very excited, about the vaccine, although it is mutating. But I do believe, with the vaccine in place, there will be somewhat of an immunity developing, and we just have to be smart still. Wear your mask, wash your hands. But things are going to get back to a different path. They will never be back to what they were a year ago or 2 years ago. In some ways, this has kind of helped us to improve the way we communicate by lots of these video conferences. It's allowed us to be a little bit more patient. You can't rush into things anymore because there's really no one to meet in person. I think you got to prepare better, whether, what business sector that you're in. So in some ways, I think it's making us much more efficient and actually do things in a smarter way. It's actually making us much more resilient. So, at least in healthcare, I do see technology is still being developed. It's still getting to market. There's still fundraising in several different ways, but it actually hasn't stopped things or slowed them down terribly.
No, that's true. We're still seeing the momentum there. But a related question from one of our advisors, from Michelle. Michelle asked, it sounds like Dave, you're very intentional about staying connected. What kind of habits have you developed over the years that helps you maintain that intentionality around staying connected? Were there's some tips or habits you formed over the years that you found or helped you?
Yeah, I'm involved in several network groups. I'm definitely involved in a CEO group here in Orange County called SAGE. I'm involved in foundations. So I'm a member of the American Heart Association. I'm the chair for the gala for 2021 and also last year. Yep. I'm involved in my industry societies, and then with our employees, we just tend to do a lot of things together. So. I'm just not the type of person that, kind of goes to work and comes home. I like being around people. I was a sports guy in college, and I like to network. So, I like teams. So I like bringing people together and having communications. And we've had happy hours like this, each month. We have a Zoom call, and we, so you have to communicate. But I find it easier if you're a part of societies like with EMP. You can meet interesting people that have diverse backgrounds. There may be one or two things that I had said that I articulated a certain way, and it just responds, a certain person responds to that differently. So it's really getting out there. And now that my book's coming out, I'm really involved in social media. So I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. And some people, that's not their way of communicating, but to be an entrepreneur, you got to put yourself out there. You really got to understand how to push people's buttons, or which buttons actually need to be pushed. So there's not a specific formula that works for everybody. But I am involved in societies. I'm involved in foundations, and I met you through that whole that whole process.
That's right. Yeah. One final question from the group now, then we'll bring this to a close. And by the way, any of the advisors, if you have something else to share, be ready. But Dave, one of the other questions is, as a model, who do you track as being, you consider an innovative company? Are there companies out there that you track, that you watch on a continuous basis, that you say, these are the leaders, these are the ones that model entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship, that you really consider either the leader or the company itself is someone you pay attention to?
Yeah, there's a few people that I follow. I'm not sure if it's a specific company. Big picture. I mean, I do follow Elon Musk. He's an incredible innovator. I'm not sure where he gets his ideas from. I mean, whose problems is he solving? His own? There's a guy that I've been following, Gary Vaynerchuk on Instagram. I just like the way he says things. It's inspiring. Yeah. A big fan. A person I enjoyed was Lee Iacocca. He passed away a couple years ago. Yeah. So I really look to certain people or follow certain people. There's always companies that are doing great things, but then I love the startups. I mean, what Elon Musk is doing is just incredible. I mean, he's got cars, he's got solar panels and rockets. It's interesting. Aside from his politics, I just like how he innovates and how he raises money. So, but he's inspiring to me.
Yeah, that's incredible. Incredible what's going on with the stock as well. So, well, Dave, this has been great, very illuminating. Of course, we'd love to have you back. We can't wait to see the release of the book. Again, the book is released in March. What's the date of the release?
Early April.
Early April. Okay.
On April 6th, I believe now.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep track of that because we're looking forward to it. And continue to join us on these monthly meetings. Speaking of networking, we'd love to have you part of it. We do have a continuous flow of executives through here representing all industry sectors. And I think that's the advantage we've had over the past 11 years. And of course, our primary forums deal into different areas. So let me have you tell you what I'm going to do for the group. Let's pull back up just a quick look again at where we're going here. And if I just want to kind of close from here, if anybody has anything they want to share quickly, we'll do that. But let's see if we can get this to cooperate with me here. Nope, it doesn't want to cooperate. One moment. See if we can get a slide deck.
Hey, Scott.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
This is Kimberly. I'm sorry, not on Zoom, but I'm on remotely. So, Dave, I just want to say good hats off to you. I used to sell for Boston Scientific for a couple years back in Kansas City, peripheral vascular disease and cardiology. So just like what you're doing in pivoting that from the healthcare and medical arena, I think it's a refreshing perspective that needs to be presented, and applaud you for what you're doing.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's definitely fantastic. And again, we want to, just to bench off what Dave's been talking about all afternoon, I want to reinforce one thing that he touched on, and that is certainly Dave is in the medtech field, but also gets outside the medtech field. And again, that's always been our claim to fame, is looking beyond your industry domain, because your next idea for your value proposition is not necessarily going to come from your home industry. It may come from an application that you see being applied differently in another industry sector altogether. That's what Elon Musk is so good about. He sees things emerging from different sectors unrelated to his own. So again, we want to continue to be watching for that. And again, we want to look deeper at building your referral networks here this year, because we know tapping on the people that are closest to us this year is going to become even more important because we're not going to be back to the in-person type environments at least for 9 months. So this idea of continuing to reach out to people, as Dave has suggested, develop new sources of contacts is going to be absolutely essential. So we'll look at that again at our next E&P Advisor on the third Thursday of next month. If there's no further comments, you know where to find us. Again, at the website, take a look at the YouTube, the various videos we have. Again, several hundred videos there for you to look at, including our mock strategy forum we just had back on December 17th that Jason alluded to. And join us as an annual member. Again, that's going to take you through 2022. Jason, any final comments from your perspective? And I'll see if there's any other questions here.
No, thanks everybody for sharing. Great job.
No, it's great. I really appreciate people coming in on Friday afternoon. I would like you to bring your ideas at our next E&P Advisor meeting next month. Again, feel free to bring things to share, and we'll continue to look at how we can be more nimble and adaptable as we move forward in this marketplace.
And Scott,
Yes, please, Brian.
yeah, if it's all right, I would like to invite everyone on the call or anyone who might be interested. The Greater Irvine Chambers,
Right.
semi-annual, I guess, twice a year we do the Economic Vitality Council meeting, which will be on Tuesday the 19th at 4 p.m. It is a virtual event this time around, but we are going to be taking a deep dive into everything that really has happened since March, how it's been disruptive not only in the business community but also in the education community, and we're going to be ideating around different solutions that we can look to implement both at the city and county level, and really those next practices in general specific to education and bringing the workforce back. Irvine is uniquely positioned in that we have not had the job erosion that a lot of other markets have. A lot of that is due to our professional services industries and the stability that we have there. But we have definitely experienced some setbacks, and we're looking for help. So if you are interested in helping to collaborate and do some of that brain sharing or mind dumping, however you guys want to think about it, and help us come up with some solutions, we would welcome that. Feel free to send me an email. If you don't have my email, you can get it through Scott, and we'll make sure that you get added to the invite list to participate with that.
Yeah, please do. Just let me know through this, if you will. And Brian, I'll get the link from you as well, and we'll send this deck out to everybody that participated in the call today. We also recorded today's call, by the way. So, be on the lookout for that. And again, a lot of things coming up. Take a look at our website on a weekly basis. It's changing every week because of the content that keeps coming to us. So we want to keep you informed. But again, great to see everybody this afternoon. Thanks for those of you who are new to the group. We welcome you back when we meet again next month. And hope you enjoy the brief summer weather we have going on here. Thanks, everybody. Great to see everybody.